The peaceful facade, the massive crystalline spires of Galactic Assembly Station Omega, pierced through the nebula like frozen lightning, each tower containing representatives from over 200 civilizations. For 3 centuries, this station had been the beating heart of interstellar diplomacy, where species with tentacles debated with those who had wings, where beings of pure energy negotiated with creatures of living stone. And for the past 20 years, humans had been among them, though many still wondered why such a young species had been granted membership so quickly. Ambassador Marcus Wright stood before the vast observation window in the human embassy wing, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched cargo vessels drift between the towers. At 58 years old, Marcus had spent the last decade representing Earth's interests in the Assembly, and in that time, humanity had gained a reputation that made him smile whenever he thought about it. Peaceful, they called humans. Gentle, mediators. Natural diplomats who avoided conflict at all costs. If only they knew the truth. His assistant, Lieutenant Sarah Chen, entered the office with quick, measured steps. Ambassador, the Assembly is convening in 30 minutes. The situation between the Krellians and Vorthons has escalated. Marcus turned from the window, his gray eyes sharp despite his grandfather-like appearance. How bad? 3 border systems have reported military buildups. Both sides are mobilizing their fleets. Sarah handed him a datapad with the latest intelligence reports. The smaller species in the region are terrified. The Ynnari have already begun evacuating their colonies. The Krellian Dominion and the Vorthon Collective had been the 2 dominant military powers in the galaxy, long before humans had even discovered fire. The Krellians were massive, 4-armed warriors who stood 3 meters tall, their bodies covered in natural armor plating that could deflect most energy weapons. The Vorthons were different but equally dangerous, serpentine beings with telepathic abilities and technology that bordered on magic to less advanced species. For the past 50 years, these 2 powers had maintained an uneasy peace, but recent discoveries of rare minerals in the neutral zone had reignited old tensions. Now it seemed that peace was about to shatter, and every smaller civilization in the galaxy was holding its breath. Marcus adjusted his simple blue diplomatic uniform, deliberately chosen to appear non-threatening compared to the elaborate ceremonial armor worn by Krellian ambassadors or the bioluminescent robes of the Vorthons. "Time to play the peacemaker again," he said with a slight smile that didn't reach his eyes. The assembly chamber was a marvel of engineering, a spherical room that could adjust its gravity and atmosphere to accommodate any species. Hundreds of platforms floated at different levels, each one containing delegates from different worlds. At the center, a holographic display showed real-time maps of the disputed territories. Marcus took his position on the human platform, one of the smaller ones as befitting humanity's relatively minor status in the galactic hierarchy. Around him, he could feel the tension in the air, or what passed for air in this multi-atmospheric environment. Supreme Commander Gornak of the Krellian Dominion stood on his platform, his 4 arms spread wide in a gesture of dominance. His voice boomed through the chamber's translation systems. "The Vorthon Collective has violated our ancient treaties. They send spy drones into our territory. They manipulate the minds of our border guards, and now they dare to claim systems that have been ours since before their species learned to leave their homeworld." Across the chamber, High Orchestrator Silthvar of the Vorthon Collective rose, their serpentine form coiling and uncoiling in agitation. Their telepathic voice resonated in every mind present. Lies and deception from the Krellians, as always. They speak of ancient claims while forgetting that we traveled the stars when they were still eating raw meat in caves. The disputed systems belong to whoever can properly utilize their resources, not whoever plants a flag first. The smaller species representatives shifted nervously. The Ynnari ambassador, a delicate bird-like creature, chirped anxiously. "Please, we must find a peaceful solution. If war breaks out, our trade routes will be destroyed. Our colonies ain't silence." Gornak roared, causing several smaller delegates to flinch. The weak should not speak when the strong are deciding the fate of the galaxy. Marcus stood slowly, deliberately, making sure all eyes turned to him. When he spoke, his voice was calm, almost grandfatherly. With respect to both the Krellian Dominion and the Vorthan Collective, perhaps we should consider the cost of this conflict. War benefits no one. Earth proposes a joint mining operation, with profits shared equally between. The humans speak of peace because they are too weak to fight, interrupted Sub-Commander Theric, Gornak's second-in-command. Your species has been in space for barely a century. You have no military to speak of, only merchant vessels and science ships. You survive because stronger species allow it. Several delegates made sounds of agreement. It was well known that humanity's fleet consisted of only a few dozen ships, mostly converted cargo haulers with basic defensive weapons. Earth itself maintained only a small defense force, having disbanded most of its military after achieving world peace a century ago. Marcus nodded thoughtfully, his expression never changing. You're right, Sub-Commander. Humans are not a military power. We came to the stars seeking knowledge and friendship, not conquest. But perhaps that gives us a unique perspective on this situation. High Orchestrator Silthavar's mental voice carried amusement. The human speaks wisdom. Not everyone needs to bear fangs to contribute to this discussion. But fangs are what matter when territory is at stake, Gornak countered. The galaxy respects strength, not pretty words. The Krellian Dominion has made its position clear. We will take what is ours, whether the Assembly approves or not. As will the Vorthan Collective, Silthvar responded, their coils tightening. We will not be intimidated by Krellian posturing. The session continued for hours, with Marcus patiently trying to guide both sides toward compromise. He proposed buffer zones, shared governance, even suggested bringing in neutral third parties to oversee mining operations. Each proposal was rejected with increasing hostility. As the session adjourned with no resolution, Marcus noticed something troubling. Several smaller species ambassadors were being approached by representatives from both the Krellians and Vorthans. The conversations looked less like diplomatic discussions and more like threats. Back in his office, Sarah was waiting with updated intelligence. Sir, it's worse than we thought. Both sides are issuing ultimatums to the smaller species. Join us or be considered enemies. The Inari have already received a deadline of 72 hours to decide. Marcus walked to his desk and activated a secure communication channel to Earth. The face of General Patricia Hayes appeared on the screen, her expression serious. Marcus, I've been monitoring the situation. How bad is it? They're going to war, Patricia. And they're going to drag everyone else into it whether they want it or not. Marcus rubbed his temples. The smaller species are terrified. Some are already talking about surrendering to whichever side seems stronger. And our position? Officially, we're maintaining neutrality and continuing to push for peaceful resolution. Marcus paused. Unofficially, I've been receiving messages. What kind of messages? Veiled threats. Both sides are suggesting that Earth's trading privileges might be revoked if we don't support them. The Krellians were particularly clear that our merchant vessels might face unfortunate accidents in their space if we side with the Vorthans. General Hayes's expression hardened. They're threatening civilian ships? Not directly, but the implication is clear. They see us as weak, Patricia. 20 years of playing the peaceful mediator has convinced them we're harmless. Good, Hayes said, surprising Marcus with a smile. Let them think that. How long before this goes hot? Days, maybe a week at most. Both fleets are already moving into position. Keep playing the peacemaker, Marcus. Buy us as much time as you can, but be ready. When the mask comes off, I want you in a position to make maximum impact. As the communication ended, Marcus returned to the observation window. Outside, he could see Krellian warships arriving at the station, their brutal, angular designs meant to intimidate. On the other side, Vorthon vessels materialized from hyperspace, their organic-looking, hulls pulsing with energy. The smaller species ships were already beginning to leave, fleeing what they saw as an inevitable conflict. Marcus watched them go with a mixture of sympathy and anticipation. They thought they were escaping danger, but they had no idea that the most dangerous species in the galaxy was standing right beside them, wearing the mask of a peacemaker. The next morning brought worse news. 3 human cargo vessels had been stopped and searched by Krellian patrols, their crews detained for security screening. The Vorthons had responded by seizing a human mining station in disputed space, claiming it was necessary to prevent it from falling into Krellian hands. Marcus called another emergency session, this time focusing on the threat to neutral shipping. He stood before the assembly, his voice carrying a note of concern that wasn't entirely feigned. This escalation threatens not just the disputed systems, but the entire framework of interstellar commerce. If neutral vessels can be seized at will, then no trade route is safe. The humans finally understand, Gornak laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. Safety comes from strength, not from neutrality. Choose a side, Ambassador Wright, or accept that your ships travel at the pleasure of real powers. The Krellian speaks truth for once, Silthvar added. The galaxy is choosing sides, human. Your species cannot remain on the fence forever. Marcus looked around the chamber, noting how many of the smaller species' platforms were now empty. Fear was spreading through the galaxy like a plague. He thought of the human colonies, the families on those cargo ships, the miners at the seized station. The mask was wearing thin. Earth chooses peace, he said finally. We will not be party to a war that will devastate countless worlds. The laughter from both Krellian and Vorthon delegations was harsh and mocking. They saw his words as the final proof of human weakness, the desperate plea of a species that had risen too far too fast and was about to learn its place in the brutal reality of galactic politics. If only they knew what was coming. The revelation. Of power, the attack came at Oro 300 hours station time. Marcus was pulled from sleep by the urgent chiming of his emergency communicator. Sarah's face appeared on the screen, her usually calm demeanor replaced by barely controlled anger. Sir, 3 human colony ships have been destroyed. The Krellians claim it was a Vorthon attack. The Vorthons say it was Krellian. 700 civilians dead, including families with children. Marcus sat up, his expression transforming from the gentle diplomat to something much harder. Where? The Proxima Transit Corridor. Both fleets have ships in the area. They're using our dead as propaganda, each blaming the other. Get me General Hayes. Priority 1 encryption. Within minutes, Hayes's face appeared on the secure channel. Behind her, Marcus could see the bridge of a ship, but not any merchant vessel. The displays showed weapons systems and tactical readouts that would have shocked anyone who believed Earth's claims of demilitarization. We monitored the attack, Hayes said coldly. Both sides fired. They coordinated it to drag us in, thinking we'd have to choose a side now. They just killed 700 of our people to make a political point, Marcus said, his voice deadly quiet. Yes, they did. And now they're about to learn why Earth really joined the Galactic Assembly. Hayes turned to someone off-screen. Operation Revelation is authorized. All ships, drop stealth protocols on my mark. Marcus stood and began changing into a different uniform, one that had been hidden in a sealed compartment in his quarters. It was black, with silver trim and bore insignia, that no alien had ever seen before. How long until the emergency session? 2 hours. Both sides are demanding you choose who to retaliate against. Oh, I'll choose all right. Marcus's smile was sharp as a blade. I'll choose to show them exactly who they've been threatening. The assembly chamber was packed when Marcus arrived. Every species that hadn't fled wanted to see how humanity would respond to the loss of their ships. Would they cower? Would they beg for protection from one side or the other? Marcus entered the chamber and conversation stopped. His new uniform drew confused looks. Gone was the simple, non-threatening blue. In its place was something that looked military, looked dangerous. Gornak was the first to speak. Ambassador Wright, the Krellian Dominion extends its condolences for your losses. Clearly, this shows the treachery of the Vorthons. Join with us, and we will ensure your remaining ships are protected. Lies, Silthvar hissed telepathically. The Krellians destroyed your vessels to frame us. Accept Vorthon protection, and we will help you seek justice. Marcus walked to the center of the chamber, not to his usual small platform, but to the speaker's position typically reserved for the most powerful species. I have something to show you all, he said, his voice carrying none of its usual warmth. The holographic display activated, showing the region where the colony ships had been destroyed. You see here the debris of 3 human vessels, 700 souls, including 132 children. He paused, letting that number sink in. Both Krellian and Vorthan weapons signatures have been detected on the wreckage. Fabrication. Both Gornak and Silthavar protested simultaneously. No, Marcus said simply. Truth. You both fired on our ships to force us to choose sides. You thought that because we preach peace, because we negotiate instead of threaten, because our visible fleet is small, that we were weak. His expression hardened. You thought wrong. He touched a control on his wrist and the holographic display changed. Suddenly, hundreds of new contacts appeared across the galaxy map. Ships were dropping out of stealth, appearing near every major trade route, every strategic system, every military stronghold of both the Krellian Dominion and Vorthan Collective. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates scrambled to contact their governments, their militaries trying to understand what they were seeing. Impossible, Gornak roared. These readings must be false. Where did these ships come from? Marcus smiled, but it wasn't the gentle smile of a diplomat. They were always there, Supreme Commander. Every human merchant vessel you've seen is a fully armed warship running at 5% of its actual capacity. Every science ship is a reconnaissance vessel that has been mapping your defenses for 20 years. Every cargo hauler carries enough firepower to level a city. The display zoomed in on one of the revealed ships. It was sleek, angular, and bristling with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. Meet the TRS Vengeance, flagship of Earth's 3rd Fleet. Yes, 3rd. We have 7 fleets, each one capable of taking on either of your armadas. Silthavar's mental voice was shaken. This is deception. Humans don't have the technology, don't we? Marcus interrupted. Let me tell you a story about humanity. We spent 5,000 years perfecting the art of war on our own planet. We nearly destroyed ourselves 3 times. When we finally achieved peace, we didn't forget how to fight. We simply chose not to. But we never stopped preparing. He gestured to the display again. Every peaceful negotiation I've conducted, every trade agreement Earth has signed, every scientific exchange we've participated in has been gathering intelligence. We know the location of every Krellian military depot. We have the shield frequencies of every Vorthan vessel. We have been pretending to be weak while preparing for the day someone would mistake kindness for weakness. You dare threaten us? Gornak reached for his weapon but froze as red targeting lasers appeared on his chest from hidden positions around the chamber. Sit down, Marcus commanded, and to everyone's shock, the mighty Krellian warrior obeyed. Now, let me explain what's going to happen. Both of your fleets are going to withdraw from the disputed systems immediately. You will pay reparations to the families of the humans you murdered, and you will sign a treaty placing those systems under the protection of the smaller species you've been threatening. And if we refuse? Silthavar asked, though the defiance in their telepathic voice was greatly diminished. Marcus touched another control. The display showed a live feed from a Krellian border fortress, one thought to be impregnable. As they watched, a single human ship fired a weapon that seemed to fold space around the fortress. When space unfolded, the fortress was gone, not destroyed, simply erased from existence. That was a warning shot, Marcus said calmly. We have one of those aimed at every major military installation you own. Your homeworlds are under our guns right now. We could end both your civilizations in less than an hour. The smaller species, delegates were staring at Marcus with a mixture of awe and terror. The Yanari ambassador chirped nervously. You were protecting us all along? Marcus's expression softened slightly as he turned to address the smaller species. Earth remembers what it's like to be the weak one, to be at the mercy of those with bigger guns. We came to the stars not to conquer, but to ensure that what happened to us would never happen to others. We chose to appear weak, so that we could identify those who would abuse their strength. He turned back to Gornak and Silthavar. You have 1 hour to begin your withdrawal. Every minute you delay, one of your military installations will be removed from existence. And if you ever threaten a neutral species again, if you ever fire on civilians again, Earth will stop pretending to be peaceful." "This is tyranny," Gornak protested, but his voice lacked its usual power. "No," Marcus replied. "This is consequence. You created a galaxy where might makes right. We're simply showing you that you're not as mighty as you thought. The difference is we don't want to rule. We want peace. Real peace, not the peace of the graveyard you were about to create." The next hour was the longest in the Galactic Assembly's history. Both the Krellian Dominion and Vorthan Collective tried to call what they assumed was a bluff. They were wrong. 15 minutes in, a Krellian weapons depot ceased to exist. 30 minutes in, a Vorthan research station vanished. By 45 minutes, both species were frantically issuing withdrawal orders. As the hour ended, Marcus stood before the assembly one more time. "Earth will be monitoring. Our ships will return to stealth, but they will be watching. The smaller species are now under our protection. The disputed systems will be developed cooperatively, with profits shared among all species that contribute. And if anyone has a problem with that arrangement..." He didn't need to finish the threat. Everyone understood. As he left the chamber, Sarah fell into step beside him. "Think we overplayed our hand, sir?" Marcus shook his head. "No. Fear will keep them in line for a while, but eventually they'll realize we don't want to be conquerors. We'll go back to being diplomats and mediators. But now they'll know that we choose peace not from weakness but from strength. And if they test us again?" Marcus smiled, and this time it was genuine. "Then they'll learn the rest of what humanity is capable of. We only showed them our ships today. We didn't show them our dimensional weapons, our AI battle coordinators, or our quantum torpedoes. Let them think they've seen our full hand." Over the following weeks, the galaxy adjusted to its new reality. The Krellians and Vorthans signed the treaty. The smaller species began developing the disputed systems and trade resumed throughout the galaxy. But now when human ships traveled through space, they were given wide berths and ultimate respect. Earth's embassy received numerous requests for alliance treaties, protection agreements, and military exchanges. Marcus politely declined most of them, maintaining that Earth preferred to remain neutral. But everyone understood that neutrality was now backed by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. In his final report to Earth, Marcus wrote, "The masquerade is over, but our mission continues. We came to the stars to find peace, and we found species that only understood force. So we gave them a demonstration they won't forget. The galaxy now knows that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our ships. It's our choice to use them only when absolutely necessary. The smaller species see us as protectors now. The powerful species see us as a threat to be respected. Both are correct. We are the shield for the innocent and the sword hanging over the guilty. And perhaps in time we can teach them all that true strength comes from choosing not to use it. The Galactic Assembly still meets in its crystalline towers. Disputes are still brought before the Council. But now, when tensions rise and voices grow heated, someone inevitably glances at the small human delegation sitting quietly in their corner, wearing their simple blue uniforms once again, and everyone remembers the day Earth stopped pretending to be gentle. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The most dangerous predator is not the one that roars the loudest, or shows its fangs most readily. It's the one that has learned to smile while keeping its claws sheathed, the one that chooses peace because it has already mastered war. Humanity had spent millennia learning that lesson on their own world. Now, they were teaching it to the stars. Retriclawed can make mistakes. Please, double-check responses.